All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, YouTube, we are back, and we got Paul Ingram. Thanks for coming on again. Paul was on a video we did last year, end of last year, before I closed the year out. Paul came back out again. Paul and I were just involved with Nick Fruki did a Warrior Weekend, and we had Paul did his Pekiti Tersha. I did Wing Chun, Alex Embry,
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, yep.
Right, and Carlos Flores, Dog Brothers, martial arts, and then Nick taught JKD. And man, I don't know about you, but that was still a fantastic event.
Yeah, I still play it through my head.
Yeah, that was one of the events where we talked about that after we got done teaching. Typically you get done teaching, well, if you're like me, you do an event, you're exhausted. We were just all charged up, and it was a 2-day event, and it was pretty, you guys missed it.
It should have went for a week.
Yeah. Keep an eye on what Paul's got going on, what Nick's got going on. We're going to have more events coming out in the future. But before we do a Q&A today, Paul's got some stuff going on in the Chicago area. Tell me what you're doing, please.
Yeah, I got a couple of events coming up, and just kind of looking on Facebook at some of the people's questions and things. That, if you come out to some of these events, actually, it's going to help answer a lot of these questions. We have one going on, a footwork seminar at the end of this month on the 26th. It's a full footwork seminar. We're going to be going over the complete tactical geometry of how to actually apply your footwork. It's going to be all obviously based on Pekiti training, but we can show you exactly how this can incorporate in any other martial arts style that you're doing.
And we'll have you teach me something then, as far as, we'll make
we can do that.
Absolutely, I'd like that.
And then we have a combat knife course coming up in May 17th and 18th. It's a full, all about the knife anatomy. It's a full study on the knife. And it's all against realistic knife fighting strategies, realistic knife fighting or knife attack solutions. There's absolutely going to be no BS within this, this entire course. I'm going to be releasing some material that I don't actually teach publicly too often. So,
you guys in the Chicago area, come out for this.
Yeah, if the knife is something that, if you carry a knife, or if you are concerned of a knife, you're interested in the knife, you're not going to want to miss this mini event.
I've said it before, Paul's the guy to go to in the Chicago area for knives. And you guys have emailed me, asking when I'm going to have him back out, so he's back out here today. And we got some Q&A, if you don't mind. Sure. We'll take some of these. And again, too, like I said, I don't give anybody questions beforehand. I like this question because I know the answer right off the bat. Brian Hoon asks, what are the values and weaknesses to, this is a two-part question. What are the values and weaknesses to using a knife? Already he's gonna say there are no weaknesses to a knife. And what points in combat would you rather be using your knife over your fist or vice versa? So first off, what weaknesses are there, if there are any in your opinion, and what point in combat would you use your hands versus your knife?
The weakness of a knife would obviously be, if your opponent can dominate the long range. Obviously, if they're, you're not going to use a knife in a 30-foot engagement, against a firearm. Knives are strictly for close quarters. Mm-hmm. I know it's like the whole 21-foot rule and all that. That's all great, but realistically, statistically, most knife attacks happen from 0 to 8 feet. Now, in that time, knife fighting and knife attacks are two completely different topics.
Okay.
Right? A knife fight, this is a mutual agreement. You draw a knife, I draw a knife, we know there's going to be an engagement. A knife attack, you don't see coming. Okay. So when it comes to a knife, I'm going to be your best friend until I'm about this close to you.
Then you knife me.
And then you knife me, right? And that's how it's going to work. So long range, like when you're really outside of that close quarter distance, then you're going to want to go to a longer weapon for superior long range tactics. As far as when would I use my empty hands versus a knife, if I can't get to the knife. So that's, we teach empty hands in Pekiti. Our empty hands is to buy us time so that way we can get to a weapon, whether it's a weapon off of a person or a field expedient weapon. Because if we can get to a weapon, then obviously we have time and we could probably escape the situation as well. So that's really why we train our empty hands, is really just to make sure we can transition to the knife or whatever weapon.
Makes sense to me. Somebody asked a question earlier, and I was going to bring it in as valid, but I don't think it's valid because of our mindset. They asked about the legality of a knife. I don't think it's really relevant to the way we train because we're training for combat. We're not training for. I do not think that you're this way. You're on the mindset of, oh God, should I or should I not employ my knife? I think your combat training automatically is. You're training for fucking combat. It's as simple as that. So when you guys ask about the knife aspect of it, if me being a non-knife kind of guy, if I'm going to train somebody with a knife or go to somebody to learn with a knife, I don't want the guy who talks to me all about law. I know what I can carry and what I can't carry. I want the guy who's going to teach me how to use that knife to the massive level of hell that it's supposed to be used.
Yeah, I agree with that. To touch base on that, if you're worried about the knife laws, then just check out what your local knife laws is, and just don't be stupid. Don't go running around with a 10-inch, butchering knife out of the kitchen, or a Rambo knife, In Illinois, especially around Chicago, we cannot carry fixed blades. Don't carry a fixed blade. Carry a knife that you are comfortable with, that you can operate, and that you're not going to be worried about getting in trouble with. If you're worried and you're trying to consider, do I use my knife? Is this the time to use my knife? You're in a world for hurt. I mean, you're going to get hurt pretty bad. I mean, you're way behind the time. You're psychologically already beaten. You're done. I mean, you have to train that. I train to use my knife. Again, if I draw it out, it's going to be used.
Absolutely. I love that philosophy. I like this question. This was another Wing Chun question. This is from Alan Adlon. Any crossovers between Pekiti, Tersha, and Wing Chun techniques? Or is it possible to use Chi Sao approach with weapons? So basically, since you know what I do, this goes back into teaching me something. Where could you see that you could teach me something from that would blend into what I do? So could you come up with a makeshift lesson that you could incorporate, or that I could incorporate into it?
Probably could. The main thing I would say when it comes to Chi Sao with a knife, you're spending too much time on center line. Okay. Like I said, the more time you spend on center line, you're going to get stabbed, you're going to get slashed. So my thing would be investigate more in the triangle footwork, get yourself off the center line, get yourself to the flank positions. Then I think not only Chi Sao for the knife, but then Chi Sao even for your empty hands, that's going to really turn the whole game around. You do that. I know when we were exchanging at the Warrior Weekend, you do that. I think if you investigate that a little bit more, it's going to give you even that better position, and you're going to be barreling through anybody.
It's a good goal to have on there.
But yeah, we could definitely we can come up with something.
That's good. Well, let's. You know what? Can we grab a knife there? Because I'm gonna have Paul just demonstrate, if you don't mind, what you just went over. I don't know if we need. Do you just have one, or we'll talk about my dominating center line, and then you taking advantage of that. Okay. And Chi Sao doesn't have to be just rolling; it can be any point of contact on it. Right. So if we make contact, I'm there. So if we're looking.
Already,
yeah. So you look at this. Look at this right here. You're there. No.
I already touched it.
Right. So from here, let's just say anywhere on there, I do no shit, and I don't like being this far away. So as an empty hand guy, now you got to educate me. I don't have a knife on me. I didn't get on this history. How does a Wing Chun guy like me deal with this and not win, because it probably in a true sense of the word, it's going to be a little bit worse for you. How would you have me deal with this now to survive?
All right, so there's one of two things that I'm probably going to do here. One thing is, I'm either, I would switch this and make sure that you're up a little bit more. You can come here as well, but you want to make sure you're covering this line. If you're too low, go back to the position where you were. If you're too low here, then I can break through the fingers. So you want to make sure you have that. See how you protected your eyes? I naturally lift your forearm to protect your eyes here. So one of two things is really going to happen. I'm either going to try to slash your stomach, which you're already in position, just corkscrew that and push it back to my hip. Right? Keep that weapon away. But now when you're doing that, you want to step away from the knife. That's it. Okay. Because now if I attack my next strike,
I felt my leg open the other time.
Step in and attack that. That's what you want to do. You want to stop and go forearm to forearm. Okay. If you attack the elbow, so that can still bend. And then you got to engage your other hand. So you want to attack that forearm right there. Right, even more, all the way through. Don't let my shoulder come forward. And the same thing, you want to press that back to my body. Once that's to my hip, go ahead, lock that thing down and go immediately to your hips. Okay. Yeah. Grab it. Grab it. That's it. Don't let that go. Okay. Press that. Pin that. Push. 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 That's it. Right? That's what you want. Okay. The other aspect from here, instead of going down, switch your hands, that's where you were. Instead of going down, I might disengage and then re-engage. Okay. That is, you want to just attack that angle. You can come in with the same hand or your opposite hand. Attack. You got to got it faster. You got to, as soon as you feel this disengagement, your timing is to go forward into my forearm. Too late. Got it. Footwork. Get that step. Feet first. No, you're leading with your arm first. Feet first. Don't extend that elbow. Keep that elbow bent. Keep that. That's it. You don't want that to come through.
Got it.
All right, so a little faster. Footwork. Step all the way through. Step first. That's better. But see how you bent that?
Yeah.
Just leave
Got
the
it.
side line.
Got it.
So from here, keep that bent. That's it. See, look. Now immediately switch that or hit. Yeah. That's it.
So the difference I've seen you know, we always keep the structure here because we went that empty hand. I've noticed to avoid that, it's like you still have forward pressure, but your body is.
Because you don't want
Right.
to slash.
Okay.
See, that's why, look, if you're on the same side like this, and you go to tap that down, you just gave me the line.
Right.
That's why this is our primary right here.
Okay.
So now if I go to slash that, yeah, so you can ride that.
Got
and
it.
then displace your body as well, just in case. See, now you got to be ready for
Right.
that.
Okay.
That's it. You want to attack into that. Back to the forearm. See, empty hands versus knife, this is a whole other world. There's a difference. That's what I said.
My concern for me training is I'm no longer concerned about his center. I'm concerned about that. That this having in his hand took the focus completely away from me going here. So now I see what you're saying about you spend too much time in the center.
Right.
Because at first I'm going, well, that doesn't make sense. Now you put that in my hands because
You got to
make sense to
you
me.
know, the knife guy, you know, I mean, the train guy, I'm not going to stand here either.
Right.
I'm going to move. So how do you deal with it? If I'm going to quarter out, if I'm going to move here, that's
Yeah. You still got an extra.
But look, see how you covered your center line? But you didn't turn your body. Yeah, that's it. Put that shot in. That's what you want. You want those hits. Right? You want to make sure you're stepping 45 degrees. You know, if you have that knife, if you're going in for that thrust, right, I want to step off of the line. Right? So if you're coming on this elliptical type of thrust, you can sit. See, I want to step into that and attack it. Once I pass that down, you see I have that grab?
Yep.
Move that knife. Boom! And that's going right through the temple.
Right.
You know, I don't let go of that. Once that thing is stopped, it's done. Immediately go to your hits. If for some reason you did get that out and you're on the other side, you immediately attack that back in.
Yeah.
You know, there's the shots, you know.
You can see I'm off balance too already. He's got my spine moved already back this way.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you immediately, you just keep attacking.
Right.
You know, there's nothing defensive, especially empty hand versus a knife.
That's why Paul's knife work, as far as I'm concerned, is probably the best in the area because I've seen that other, and I don't know enough to say it, but the bullshit knife tapping stuff that I didn't like. It didn't offer anything that made me, as the defensive guy, feel, you know, like I didn't have my balance. This immediately, I'm jammed up. And
So if I'm going to come in for this strike, when you do your tap here,
Okay.
what you do, step out to the left. That's it. Whether you make contact or not, go up. Get away from the left. And you can't go that way because
I'm right into
you're
it.
moving into it.
Yeah.
So you're going to hit me in the face, right? You might hit me in the face,
But I'm taking boom.
you know, I might not realize that happened.
Right.
So you want to maneuver to a much better position. That's it. See? And put in that hit at the same time. And then that's it. You want to come back and stop that wind from coming back. Even if you hit me, you know, that still might return.
Got it.
Yeah. See what I was talking about before? Yeah, that's it. See, now you stop that from coming in. Especially if it's low. When you're training here, see, that's what you want.
Right.
That's it. And then from there, what would you do with the knife? I want you to actually think about this because
It changes the game.
but it's gonna tell you what to do. What are you gonna do here?
It depends on where my focus is. Yeah, I mean, my focus right there is that,
but
but it's
you
not what I
already-
feel.
do
So
you
how does a Wing Chun guy who bases everything on feel?
Right, what do you feel right now?
What do I feel is I feel just the stagnant pressure right here, and I feel.
What do you want to do?
I feel like I can go in, but that something tells me that you have options outside of that.
There's always options.
Okay.
But you're also sinking the shot in, right?
Okay.
What do you want to do from here?
I want to keep coming in.
Keep coming in. That's
Okay.
exactly it. That's exactly
It changes it splits my focus. So all of a sudden, whenever we do our training, for the most part, I'm not relying on my eyes. You put that in there, and now all of a sudden I'm focusing from sensitivity and eyes, and you're splitting my attention there. So that's why I love the reality of the knife training when you have pressure coming in like that. And that's why I think Ben Paul's got the best shit around.
But that's the main thing is that, you know, when you're actually training with this stuff, it's going to tell you what to do. You know, because what doesn't work isn't going to work.
Now, I love his philosophy too, is throw away the bullshit techniques that don't work.
So, you know, the Wing Chun that you're doing, like I said, I think it's going to work really well against a knife. Just look at how can you spend less time on center line.
It makes sense once you touch it, because we're all going, it doesn't make sense, you know, don't spend time on center line. Put a knife in the hands and you'll see how you have to focus on more than just center line.
That's why in our system, the very first thing that we always teach is footwork. You gotta move. If you don't want to get hit, then don't be there.
Mhm.
That's what I tell all my students at day one. Don't want to get hit, don't be there. And move the feet.
Makes sense to me. Thanks again for coming out.
Absolutely.
Guys, see you in the next video.